Just a normal day.
I can't remember which day of the week it was.
Pretty typical day.
I came in for the 4:30.
Warm up, do the class.
These are not walking lunges, they're going to be in place. So you can either step back or step forward, bring those feet back together at the top.
I had not been in about a month.
3, 2, 1, go!
Did the workout, finished the workout.
I had just talked to Bruce.
Come in, clean my weights up.
I usually stick around after to do physical therapy.
I was sore, I was tired, rushing home from work. I considered not coming.
I had a conversation with Mike. I talked to Sean.
I walk in, the previous class was just ending.
One of my friends came over, Katie, to talk to me, just sitting and chatting, and I had a direct view.
I come in to change in the locker room. I walked back outside. They were all standing around talking.
They started doing some stretching. I went over in the corner
and was on the floor stretching with everybody else. And
that's when it happened.
I don't remember doing any of that. Last thing I remember was the run. So I don't remember anything after the run. We come down along the building, and Katie was in front of me, and I gave her a hard time. I said, "Don't let me catch you." And of course I didn't, but that's the last thing I remember. I don't remember anything after that.
So he was doing the hamstring thing with the band, laying on your back, and he had his leg up, and he was fine while I was sitting on the ground for about a couple minutes. And then all of a sudden I saw him let go of the band, and his leg started to drop a little, really slowly. And he looked over, and I didn't know what he was doing, but I noticed that it wasn't the right kind of face. I thought maybe he was trying to talk to me at first or in my direction, and then I realized he wasn't saying words. And I looked at my friend Katie and I was like, will you look at Bruce? Because I don't think that's right. And so we got up, and that's when I tried to get his attention. And he was making sounds, but it wasn't words, and I couldn't tell if he was trying to talk to me or not, and I'm thinking, oh my God, he's having heat stroke. Because you don't think, you just did an entire 15-minute workout in 80-degree heat with deadlifts and running, and you're having a heart attack after you've laid down on the floor. Right. You would think maybe that was in the middle. So it never came across my mind that it was a heart attack.
I came back in and got some water, and I walked back out a second time and noticed what appeared to me to be a crowd of people kind of hovering around somebody. And I thought, typical CrossFit injury, somebody twisted an ankle, somebody pulled a muscle, something like that.
I noticed that he wasn't talking to me because I could tell his eyes were glossed over, just totally glassy, and his pupils were kind of dilated. And so then I just yelled for Mike because I knew he was already there, and he's an athletic trainer.
Right.
And he came over, and I was like, I think he's having a heat stroke. We still couldn't get him to respond to us, and he just kept making these noises, and he was twitching. And then Mike's like, get your phone.
I got over there. Bruce is laying on the side. Looks like he's honestly having a seizure. Did the pulse check. I couldn't tell if he was really with it or not. He was breathing. He was looking at me, but there's no response. I rolled him over. He kind of fought it, and then I rolled him over again on his back, and he kind of, honestly took one, last gasp, and was on his back. Checked again there, make sure what was going on, and the next thing you know, Bill comes over.
I walked over, I calmly knelt down, and I saw Mike lean down, talking to Bruce. Bruce was laying on his left side, if I remember. And at that point, I thought he had dislocated a shoulder or something, just kind of the way he was laying down, knowing Mike's professional background. So I said, well, let's roll him over, because I'm thinking now we're going to try to relocate, pop back in his shoulder. And when I rolled him over, he was completely purple.
And we're like, hey, he doesn't have a pulse. And we just went right into CPR.
Okay, he's not breathing. And he started doing CPR. Yeah, it was really quick. I mean, it was just, I yelled Mike came across, I grabbed my phone, like called, and then all of a sudden it was.
I didn't think twice. I just started compressions at that moment. I think Michelle, I'm not sure when she called 911, but I know she did. And we basically did CPR on Bruce for, I'm guessing a good 20 minutes. I'm not exactly sure of the time.
It took at least 5 to 10 minutes for the first responder to get there, and then probably within 10 minutes maybe, or a little after. I mean, I could be totally wrong, but when the actual ambulance got there, it took a while.
To be honest with you, I don't know how long we went. I know that a couple times during that time frame we got a pulse back, and you could tell he's breathing just a little bit, maybe. As soon as we stopped to check the situation, he went back. Right. So we just kept going.
I'm doing CPR and barking orders to people. I need an AED. Run up to the swim school up the road and see if they have an AED. I asked these guys here if they had one.
While this was happening and we were waiting for the first responder, I had two of my friends, they're CMPD cops, and they didn't drive their cop car, they drove their regular car, so they didn't have any of their gear. Yeah. And so they were really quick to think, okay, let's go grab an AED somewhere. Y'all have an AED. We didn't have an AED. Yeah. And so they ran to the local grocery store and to a swim school right next door. Mm-hmm. They're literally like less than a block away from us on both sides, and neither of them had an AED. No one had anything. Okay.
You get those first couple minutes, and that's the important of recognize the situation, keeping that blood flowing through the body. Obviously we would like to have an AED here a little bit sooner, but we were still here. We still had medical people who knew what the situation was and how to handle it and control it.
It wasn't until we could do compressions as long as you can, but until you can jump him again, like that they went through a couple of pads on the AED, I think, when they finally got here with the ambulance, to get him stabilized. Right. Like it needed a combination of that speed, that CPR knowledge, and then eventually the AED.
What was the first thing you remember waking up?
I woke up in a dark hospital room and didn't know where I was, what had happened. I don't even remember who all was even there. I'm pretty sure my son was there, my daughter and her friend. I think Mike was there. So I think it happened right around 6:30, and it was probably 9:30, 10 o'clock maybe when I woke up.
It was actually the opportune time for Bruce to go down because it was when everyone was still there from 5:30 and when everyone was coming in for 6:30. And so everyone was still in the gym. He's a normal guy, so he's not grossly overweight. He's not incredibly just off of his diet. He comes to the gym to work out. I mean, he's here most days. He works hard, and so you don't expect it to happen to people who take decent care of themselves, and it still happened to him.
It's one of those things. He was in the right place at the right time. I mean, he could have been driving home at that point and had that heart attack, and who knows what would have happened there.
Definitely, Bruce wouldn't be here today. I'm not sure what the statistics are. I know they're not good. I would guess to say, 9 out of 10 people who suffer a cardiac event probably do not survive. If this would have happened in the grocery store, this would have happened at a gym down the road where people aren't always in community together, I think it would have very much been a negative outcome.
Like it's
Okay.
that entire time on the phone, I thought he was dead. Like, because he was so blue. And it took what I felt was so long for them to get here. And once they were here, there were like 6 guys in this from the ambulance around him. And it was just, he was still just laying there for like 5 minutes at least before they could stabilize him. And then you think, if I wasn't sitting right there, had none of us noticed that he was on the ground like that, and we got to him 2 minutes later, he wouldn't have made it.
So kind of, when I got done, I was kind of a little emotional.
Sure.
Just trying to think back of everything that could have happened. And
I tell people, don't be that person that says, this is not my problem. Just act. Just act. if you take a CPR class, excuse me, if you take, I get choked up sometimes talking about this. If you're too afraid to act, those skills do nothing for you. So my number one tip is just act. Even if you don't know CPR, you're not going to hurt them anymore by attempting.
Public places now have AEDs, like in a mall, shopping center, grocery store, anything like that. So those are readily available, which is fantastic, but you still have to be able to have people to step in. You can't hesitate. Even if you're unsure, just do something. Compressions. I mean, if you're not unsure of whether to breathe, give that person breath. If you're doing the compressions, you're helping them out regardless.
If you have the chance to take a CPR certification, do it. I mean, clearly it could save someone's life and give someone enough time. Without CPR, he would have died, clearly, within probably like 2 minutes, because he just was not getting air. And I mean, had we not known how to do those compressions or anything like that, that AED wouldn't have been able to save his life.
Dr. Mazroff is the one that actually did my heart double bypass. And he told me if I wasn't in the shape I was in and the quality of CPR I got, I would have not made it. That's the only way you stayed alive until the paramedics got there, was the CPR.